Lights, camera, action! We're shooting threes, just SMB. We're gonna watch and review film trilogies. It's all for laughs, so just sit back. We're gonna drop hella dimes on this podcast.
Welcome to Shooting Threes. We've got a brand new trilogy we're so excited to talk about. I am your co-host, Sarah Griffith.
And I am your other co-host, Bridgett Greenberg.
And we are here to talk about the cutest,
the sweetest little film,
the funniest little boy in all of DreamWorks history.
The goodest boy.
So sweet. We, of course, are talking about How to Train Your Dragon!
How to Train Your Dragon. I like to pride ourselves on assuming that no one sees our picks coming.
I know, it's always a surprise, but the name of the episode is going to be Shooting Threes: How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, no,
like
you guys
quite
saw it, but
literally
did you see it coming?
Episode.
Did you see it coming before? I don't think you did.
No way. I don't think when we talk about trilogies, I don't think animation comes to the front of many people's minds. And quite frankly, are there many animated trilogies?
There was Toy Story 3 for a little while, but then that's continued.
When there was Shrek 3 for a while, but they had to do the fourth one.
Yeah. Animation, they keep them coming. There's no I think this is one of the few that I can think of off the top of my head. Real trilogies.
Yeah,
Monsters,
compared to their
Inc.
live, compared to like a
Monsters,
live.
Inc?
Well, yeah, I guess Monsters Inc. Oh, they have the college, but they don't have a third one.
They go to college. There's a regular.
I think that's it.
I
will say though, compared to their live action counterparts, are there many animated franchises really? Like a lot of them will have a sequel.
I feel like we're gonna, throughout the duration of this podcast, and certainly in the comments, we're gonna hear so many, or I'm gonna think of so many. But yeah.
Well, I mean, Disney went through that phase where everything had to have that straight to VHS sequel.
Right. Exactly. For
Lion
better
King, and for worse.
Yeah, Lion King 1.5 is incredible.
I honestly think that is where Disney really solidified like the origin of the Disney adult, mostly millennial, because it was like nonstop Disney content they were churning out back in those days.
Right.
Michael Eisner.
Yeah, you couldn't escape it. If you loved a character, you're going to keep getting inundated with it. And now that's kind of just the way.
Yeah.
That's how you build a universe. But let's talk about this one.
Let's talk about DreamWorks Sarah Catherine Griffith.
Yes, that's
SKG.
What that stands for. Yep.
Of course. Yeah, so
what is your history with these movies? Have you seen all of them?
It's weird. I saw the second one because my roommate had it on in college, but that's it. There were scenes in this movie that I was like, I've seen this before, so it's kind of one of those things where like maybe it's been on and I've seen it in the background.
That's really interesting that you've never seen this one. I've seen this one. I'm pretty sure, like you, have seen parts of the second one, and I definitely haven't seen the third. I really liked this movie, and I just, for some reason, never got around to seeing the sequels. In college, one of our first editing assignments was to re-edit this trailer.
Oh.
And try to do it in a different genre. I don't remember what I did. Yeah, which was really fun. So I also watched that movie again, and I've watched this movie a couple times for that reason.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember what I did. Don't ask me. I'm not a good editor. And so it wasn't that great. It was passable.
Well, this is based on the book series. Were you familiar with the books? Did you read the books?
I had no idea these were books until I was reading the IMDb page for this movie.
Really?
No idea. It makes total sense now because there's such a universe. The dragon lore is so fleshed out in what each dragon is.
Totally.
I think if you asked me, I probably could have guessed, but I did not think about it and only learned it just now. moments ago.
Yeah, I vaguely remember encountering the title of this book like in and out of elementary school.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You know, as like blue ribbon books or like books that are
Sure,
popular
yeah.
with kids.
That sounds
I feel like
familiar, but
I feel
I'm
like
saying
when we were growing up, there was like a boon of like books that kids are really reading. Like, of course, capitalized most by Harry Potter, a series of unfortunate events, like that whole
yes,
era.
yeah.
But I remember these books kind of being in the mix. I did a little bit of background on the books, and I was quite surprised that the source material of this film, first of all, is the second book in the series, and what this book what the film extrapolates from the book is actually, I would maybe describe as wildly different from the book.
Yeah, I mean, IMDb calls it a loose adaptation.
And it is loose.
I think from what I gather, and tell me if I'm wrong, they mostly take like the lore of Burke and Vikings and the lore of the dragons and kind of create this character of Hiccup.
Yes. And if I recall correctly, I think I do remember seeing these books and they were quite small. They were just like
I
little
think
things.
Yeah, it almost feels like they were actually like fake cutesy guides of how to train your dragon.
And oh my God, I loved those kinds of books growing up. Jesus Christ. But the first book was released, I think, in 2001, and it was mostly about Hiccup. There was no dragon whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
And then the book, How to Train Your Dragon, really is about training dragons.
Okay,
this
that's
whole
cute. Yeah,
story of
that's
like
cute.
they
It
killed
makes
the
sense.
dragons.
Yeah, that's very cute. It would not have caught my attention as a child, so it makes sense that
it's a little boy book. We can say that, I think.
Sure,
It's a
I
boy
think
book.
I think I needed more of a story than a how-to guide on how to train my fictional dragon.
Totally agree. So before we get into the thick of this, I do want to say that I found like this kind of weird, about an hour long, like making of documentary. That's what I said. Like, I'm doing some last minute cramming because I was watching this thing. I mean, it kind of in and out of it. There was some of the stuff
they always have those for animation movies, I feel like.
But what was actually kind of notable about this documentary is that it starts with the filmmakers very meta talking about, yeah, we started to film ourselves making this movie just as a joke because everyone does this, as you just said.
Yeah.
And the documentary actually starts like towards the end of the filmmaking process, and the filmmakers explain. But then as we started like film this behind the scenes stuff, we actually did find we were like literally filming us in real time, breaking the story of this film. So we started to get more serious about archiving these. I think it's like, it kind of features like the last 6 months of the filmmaking process.
Okay.
And I did extrapolate some interesting tidbits that I will drop in as we talk about this. It's literally just, I just Googled, I went on YouTube, How to Train Your Dragon behind the scenes, and it came up. I mean, I'll put a link in the show notes if anybody else is curious about this, but it was very interesting. I'm glad I checked it out. But let's dive into the motion picture.
I really respect this movie. I think also it was a movie. I mentioned the editing project I had in film school with it. It was a movie. I also went to school right as this movie came out, and film schools, especially if you're in school to study writing, they love to talk about. And as you're studying story, they love to talk about animation stories, and this was a big one that we talked about a lot, just because it is such a succinct storyline.
Truly,
it really is like a very just well told, simple story, and it's done so well. And what can you say? Fathers and sons, boys and their pets, coming of age. It has it all.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the documentary picks up with where they're really breaking the story. And so it starts with that father-son relationship. Yeah. Basically, the filmmakers are explaining, like, we've been so deep into, I totally related to this writing-wise. Like, we're so deep in the weeds of, like, Norse mythology, Vikings, dragons, the mechanics of the story that, like, we don't actually have anything emotionally going on. And Katzenberg wrote a note at the end of the script, and they show it on camera. It's pretty funny. There's that line that Stoic, the father, tells Hiccup at the end of the movie, like, I am proud that you are my son. Yeah. Katzenberg writes, nice ending, just missing the story that gets us here.
That's really funny.
So
And
it's
also
funny, the documentary starts with like, oh my God, we forgot that this is a father-son story, so we need to go back to that.
That makes sense because to me, because it sounds like most of the book they were working off of was more of the world building.
Totally.
And it's a very strong world, and I think that's like a boon to how the story is told. Like you get that opening scene of this is Burke, here's everything that's going on, here's very detailed descriptions of the dragons they deal with and the problems they have, and then you're immediately dropped in the story about this scrawny little Viking trying to get the approval of his father, but also doesn't fit in, which is a classic Disney story.
Yeah, so we could just jump in. I mean, like you just said, we start with this narration of, this is where we are, this is what we do, etc. We start with this like really intense Viking versus dragon battle.
The action in this movie is great.
Really
I was
good.
a little caught
yes.
up. I was a little caught up in my 2022 vision of animation, where humans now, and like Pixar has certainly made humans like ultra realistic, and me used to that. So I got a little caught up in like, they do look like video game characters.
My first note I wrote down was animation has gotten so much better, yet this is still stunning.
Still a beautiful movie.
Still holds up incredibly. Yeah,
still holds up incredibly. Is not like at least for the human characters, is not what we expect from like a Pixar anymore as much. But I also think like the images they were trying to convey are so strong, and then again, the story is so good and so well told, and like the pacing is right on point, that you're so wrapped up in the story that there were little moments where I was like, is this not good? And then I like stepped back and was like, no, this is actually really, really great.
Yeah, I was bitching and moaning about having to shell out $4 to rent this on Apple TV, but I was able to rent the 4K version.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, there are just some like images. Like we can forget about the mechanics of like how realistic the animation looks, but some of those flying sequences are straight up paintings. I also noticed it while the end credits were playing that Roger Deakins was a visual consultant. I was just about to say. Yeah, yes. He was a visual consultant, and
this is a big part of the this is a big part of the documentary. They said the two areas that they wanted more feedback on was lighting, which you can really see in the scene where Stoic is talking to Hiccup about, you are this great Viking. I had no idea. It's this evening scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
beautiful. The candlelight stuff, like when they're in the halls.
I want to say it's naturally lit, but it's not literally naturally lit. Yet it not appears literally, but like that's that it's the light from the candle. And then of course the other thing was they wanted to talk to someone about the camera moves, and they just like shot their shot with Roger Deakins, and he was like, I love the story, I'm in, and actually like gave much more of his time than they previously anticipated, and that shows.
I feel like for someone like Deakins, or just someone who doesn't do animation that often. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm just not familiar with Deakins' animation work. But I feel like it's got to be so much fun because you literally like sky is true. There is no limit. Yeah, with the effects you can tell with animation. That's why animation is such a big thing that we studied, and when I started my screenwriting program, is because you don't have to worry about what the camera is capturing and the like limitations of physical reality. You can tell your story through images and not dialogue. Like you can make up what those images are.
And as comedy writers, I just think writing comedy and animation, what a joy. You could be as big, the gag could be as big as you need it to be. I mean, what a treat.
Yeah, truly. But yeah, that first dragon fighting scene is awesome. You're tracking through Burke, and you have all these big Vikings like throwing cannons and fighting dragons who have all these different kinds of attacking styles. And you see little Hiccup just excited and running through the town.
Yeah, he's not necessarily part of the action. I did write down a line that the Craig Ferguson Viking, I didn't even, Gobbler, what was his name?
Yeah, Gobber or Goober? Gobber.
He's the Craig Ferguson Viking. First of all,
Yeah.
you know Craig Ferguson loves doing this shit. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he loves it.
And also he gets to play a big Scottish brute.
Of course.
That's what he is.
Exactly. He says to Hiccup, hey, cheer up. Your dad doesn't hate you because of the way you look. It's what's on the inside that he can't stand.
Yeah. Yeah. No one, I love these, especially in children's movies, having just like gruff Viking nature. Like no one is soft with Hiccup.
Yes.
He has a complex because everybody is straight up like, you are scrawny. No one wants you here because you are little.
The stoic to Hiccup ratio is like they're
He's
two
the only
different
skinny
species.
kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Stoic, I read, is if you put him to scale 7'2".
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
He's a NBA center and like an anomaly of one.
Yeah, seriously.
He's 2 inches taller than or an inch taller than probably the tallest NBA center.
Well, you would know.
And he's big. He's a big dude. And also his name's Stoic, which is incredible.
Oh, yeah. Just go for it. So in this opening sequence, we see Hiccup actually does take down a dragon with a ballus.
The most elusive dragon, the Night Fury. No one can see him because they're so fast.
And so cute.
And
we'll get to that.
And no one knows how cute they are.
Nobody knows because they've never seen one.
They've never seen one, and that's why they're afraid. If they knew how cute they were, they're only fighting the ugly dragons, who end up being cute once you get to know them. But there's no way you see.
They're not cute right out of the gate like Toothless.
No, there's no way
you look
you
at
see
Toothless and you're like,
that
that is a cute dragon.
Yes, yeah. There's no. I mean, he was apparently based. The directors also did Lilo and Stitch. Apparently something about his face shape is based on Stitch.
Well, I also read, in the documentary, they literally showed footage of a Black Panther.
Yeah. Oh, right. I read that too, that it was going to be
kitty.
based on something else, but then someone's screensaver was a Black Panther. And they started... basing him off that.
Okay, before we talk about how cute Toothless is,
which will be most of this podcast.
Yeah, okay, just moving through the fucking thick of it, right? So Hiccup's like, I caught a dragon. Everyone's like, no, you didn't. Stoic is like, dude, you're my son, but like, you don't got the dog in you. You're not going to be this great Viking, whatever. The next day.
But really, he's just afraid of Hiccup getting hurt.
Yeah. I did write down, I'm not sure if this is exactly a line that comes up sequentially, but at one point, like, Hiccup is talking about, like, well, maybe the dragons, like, maybe they are good or something like that. And somebody says, you need to figure out what side you're on. And there's a few times in the movie where they suggest that Hiccup sides more with dragons than human beings, which, like, I guess I understand the sentiment, but it is a little bit funny to think that, like, you are against all humans in our eyes. Like, he's like the PETA of, and by PETA, I mean, like, the people for the ethical treatment of animals. Like, he is the one that's like, well, dragons, they experience pain and grief just like humans do. Like, they're actually very smart animals. You know what I mean? Like, people do that for cows and pigs.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, these Vikings are dummies.
Brutes.
If that's what they think, they're like, oh, he's gonna go join the. I mean, they do have a point, because I was gonna get into this a little later, but these dragons are highly intelligent. They make it seem like Hiccup is gonna go join the dragons instead, like there's a dragon army instead of there just being animals. But yeah, no, Hiccup wants to prove himself, and they're just poor guy. He's just so misunderstood by these Vikings.
So in an effort to prove himself, he goes into the woods hunting to find the dragon that he definitely took down, and lo and behold,
he downed him. He didn't get him in that initial opening sequence, but he definitely like downed him.
Yeah. And he finds our cute little kitty cat all tied up in the woods, and he's been knocked out. He's sleeping.
He's really sad and hurt, and oh god, I sent you a video I think we probably have to post of me watching it with my tiny dragon, little Bruce. just cuddling into me and watching this movie and looking at Toothless. And I was like, it's us, buddy. It's you and me.
It's the eyes. It's the eyes and
It's
the
the
fact
eyes.
that he doesn't really have much of a chin.
He has
So he looks like
well,
a little
that's- yeah,
silly.
that's the Stitch expression, is the like no chin,
Totally,
just mouth.
totally.
That's I was like, I read that and I did see it, and then I looked at pictures of Stitch and I was like, that's the part. It's how the mouth just is the chin.
Yes.
That is Stitch like, and he has that like, yeah, very expressive eyes, a cute little like salamandery head. And yeah, just like the biggest expression, like this goofy little smile. I love him so much.
And since we're talking about character design for Toothless, so in the book, the Toothless dragon is actually like Mushu size, like small.
Right, that's what I heard, and then they wanted him to fly on him.
Yes. And I think that was the right move, because I think
he's still cute. He can be big and cute.
Yeah, I like that he is big and cute.
I like that he can be ridden, and it gives him a little more agency as a character. I feel like if he was small, it would definitely be like more about Hiccup and his little sidekick. I like the dragon wouldn't be empowering to Hiccup if it was small.
And he's more of a threat when he's bigger. So the stakes are actually pretty high in these initial two first scenes with Hiccup, where the first time he encounters Toothless, he can't bring himself to kill the animal, so he lets it go. Yeah. And there's kind of like a near miss moment where Toothless charges at him and then tries to fly away.
Right.
And yeah, if it was small, then like what's the threat? Who cares?
Right. Yeah. No. It makes totally. He needs to be big. And yeah, they both like see the humanity in each other, which goes to my thinking that these dragons are very smart and should be
like as smart as human beings, really,
if not
in
smarter. If not smarter, because I wrote in my notes that more than Hiccup training Toothless really does train Hiccup more than anything.
Yeah.
He gets Hiccup immediately to like figure out his wants and needs, can communicate with Hiccup better than Hiccup can communicate with the dragon.
Very true.
And then even in the drawing scene that like Hiccup, that Toothless recognized that Hiccup was drawing him and then tried to draw him as well, like used a tool immediately, like figured out what was going on. These dragons are training the humans.
Yeah, that moment was actually brought up in the documentary as like, you know, we have to not only the obvious like relationship establishment in that moment, but also like what is Toothless capable of? Who is Toothless?
Yeah.
Because we also do need to know, like, Toothless is a character. We need to know what his little personality traits and quirks are, other than being such a cute little kitty cat.
Yeah, no, he has and I think that's what makes this relationship so dynamic, is that Toothless has very clear wants and needs that he is showing Hiccup. And he is like, their relationship is a conduit to like, I mean, obviously this is a plot of the story of how to get these people to team up, and it's really like Toothless is doing most of the work.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
He's like Hiccup is just like kind of going along with it, like, oh, this is cool, this dragon's communicating with me, more than like, oh, I'm communicating with it. It just kind of likes me because I'm gentle.
Yeah, and Toothless can really see a need, like the end goal of like, I need to learn how to fly. You might be able to help me. So as we have, this isn't going to necessarily be a plot for plot beat. It's only an hour and a half long. Watch the movie. I mean, what the hell?
It is. Yeah, I mean the story is, again, I can't say it enough, and like it's a credit to the movie, but very simple. We get from there we kind of see Hiccup going back and forth trying to like, when he finds Toothless, he sees that like half of his tail, he hit half of his tail. That's why he can't fly. So he's like kind of down.
And what they say, a down dragon is a dead dragon.
Is it? Yeah. So he's kind of just stuck in this valley. And they have this moment where they kind of like see each other, recognize each other, choose not to hurt the other, like see the other's humanity, and go back and yeah. Now Hiccup is kind of like interested and enamored with this dragon, which like, why wouldn't you be? You found a cool pet in the woods.
Absolutely.
Very much like E.T. You're gonna take care. Like, it didn't kill you, and it showed some sort of kindness to you. But at the same time, you know, he goes back to his Viking culture, and they're like, you're gonna learn how to kill dragons if you're gonna be this big of a pest about it. You're getting what you wanted.
Yeah, so I was just about to transition to that. So we have this storyline of Toothless and Hiccup working together. Meanwhile, Hiccup, juxtaposed in the village, this Viking village, he's being taught how to kill these dragons. He's got this additional pressure from his father who wants him to learn how to kill these dragons. Again, this is where we talk about the father-son story. It's like,
right. You got to be a real Viking. You got to fit in.
Right.
You got to be my son.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not following my dreams. I'm following yours, or whatever that.
Right. And this is like at the
is.
beginning when we meet Hiccup, this is what it seems like he wants. He wants to fit in with.
Yes. He wants to be a part
Viking.
of the fight. He wants to get in there. Yes.
And now he's met the other side and he's a little apprehensive, but you know, he still wants to make his father proud.
So he is unwillingly, that's not the word.
Unwittingly. Yeah.
He now has to go to
Dragon
Academy, which, okay, I don't mean to be like about this or whatever, but the good people of Burke, if you are capable of capturing a dragon and keeping it alive for the purposes of this training stuff, ain't that the first indicator to these village idiots that, hey, maybe there's like more to the relationship between Vikings and dragons than meets the eye. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
they're treating them like I mean, the abused animals. They're not treating them like things that have empathy or care. They're treating them like, you know, dangerous wild animals. And they're like they're keeping them in cages and like treating them badly.
I don't know. I would just say the evidence of the fact that they could capture these animals probably should have tipped somebody off to like, maybe.
Yeah. Well, no one ever tried to be
this.
nice to them. They captured these animals and they're just being mean to them. They're just like used for training for their Viking children to be killed. Yeah, they're like, they are only captured so that little Vikings can kill them.
And I will say, so the character design of these dragons that we first see in the training group, that looks closer to what the book depicts these dragons as.
Sure. Yeah.
I will say, and they're very funny looking, and I understand why they have to look the way they look, but character design wise, I feel like between the big bag dragon at the end of the film,
sure,
Toothless, and then this group of dragons, it's like these are radically different looking dragons.
Well, what also so they're going through dragon training school, and with all the other kids who I do want to talk about.
Yes.
And Toothless, you see Hiccup keeps going back to Toothless, trying to teach him how to fly. And along the way, Hiccup is picking up little things about dragons. So he is kind of excelling at dragon killing school, not by killing dragons, but by knowing how to like lure them back into cages, which begs
He's
the
that
question.
Andrew Garfield pacifist World War II film.
Sure. Yeah. But which begs the question, which I think this is the part of the world building that breaks to me. All dragons have the same traits. Like they all don't like eels. They all will follow the light. Like these are all different species of dragons. Every single, not all dragons are the same. It's not a monolith. We spent a whole scene explaining how they're different.
Right.
The same tricks work. That's one part of that's like one of the
and
few.
there's a book and there's a guide within the guide. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess he's just like learning all these tips and tricks that work for Night Furies and therefore work for all other.
I like the part where Toothless was rolling around in the grass.
I do too.
Then he took the grass and he pet. And when he pet him underneath the chin, he falls asleep.
Yeah. Oh God, he's so cute. I want a little Toothless. I remember when I first saw this movie too. I watched it with my dog LeBron James, who got a bunch of teeth pulled. Oh. So he was my little Toothless.
He was Toothless.
But yeah, I do want to talk about the kids in Dragon Training School.
And what a cast of
they really
like what a voice cast. I mean, this is like the we're like in the super bad era, like this kind of like heyday of studio comedies.
2011. Yeah, Judd Apatow school, and he gets all of those people. We have the two dumb gross twins.
Yes.
We have his love interest, Astrid. And then we have Jonah Hill's character, who puberty is hitting that kid like a ton of fucking bricks.
He is 23 years old.
I would say he is firmly 14 because he just is either aggro as hell or horny as fuck. Like, he just has those two things, and it's like, oh, this poor kid is just getting hit with hormones. Is just hormones, because he is either hitting on a girl, on Astrid, in like this dumb spinning 14-year-old boy way where he's just like, everything is beautiful, dirt looks great on you, or he is like, let's go fucking kill something. This boy is just a ball of hormones.
Yeah, I love these side characters. They're so great. Something that the documentary brings up is that they actually did like group recording sessions. So there was like real riffing and real playing off of each other. I actually thought that was so bold, just from like a recording standpoint, that there would be times where actors were actually talking on top of each other. Yeah. So you couldn't separate their voices in the recording. And so they animated with it, which is like, of course, a natural way to speak. But I just thought, wow, that is so brave to just commit. Like, these two characters are going to be talking at the same time. And we're going to record these like actors.
The twins.
Yeah.
Who are
which,
like...
by the way, this might be like a silly thing to say because she has such a huge resume in voice acting. Kristen Wiig, I think, is a really underrated voice actor. I did not immediately recognize her voice.
No, her voice does not sound like her.
No. And in the documentary, like, you could see her playing that character, and it's like, wow, I cannot believe this noise is coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. She does transform. I always forget. I was like, Kristen Wiig is an Astrid. And then I remember she's the girl twin. Rough Nut. Rough Nut. Tough Nut and Rough Nut.
Yes.
The names in this are very fun. The names. Like, I'm looking at the IMDb page. We have Hiccup and Stoic. Christmas Floss character, Fish Legs. Goober, Astrid, Snot Lout, Tough Nut, Rough Nut. Ack, Starkard. Yeah, just...
Okay.
Just...
Okay.
Flemma the Fierce.
Okay.
Is the big dragon.
Okay. Speaking of voices, there's like the little dragons. They're called the Terrible Terrors. Those dragons were actually all voiced by a Chihuahua named Paco. The filmmakers found a YouTube video, like an early viral YouTube video in like 2009 of this Chihuahua making these crazy like sounds. And they reached out to the owner. They paid him $100, and they just took the Chihuahua's voice, growling and snarling and stuff, and that's what those little guys are.
Let me tell you, Paco, you could have asked for more. As someone who has paid animals, you gotta up your rate. Animals typically get paid a lot more than that, Paco. You got
and this movie grossed like $500 billion. So
Paco,
like, damn,
you need an agent.
Yeah, really needed a better contract.
It's those
on
early days. $100 for a dog, nothing.
Yeah. So
it is weird. You do have to pay the animal as well as the trainer, which is the most mind-boggling thing.
Well,
I hope they got a lot of bones.
About 100 of them.
Yep.
So the movie's progressing along. So they're doing this dragon training. He's excelling by not killing the dragons, by being a pacifist, a lover, not a fighter.
Which you think would have like flagged the class too. Like, that's not the point of the class.
I was actually kind of waiting for the scene where someone was going to say, but I guess it's like, if he could subdue them, he could kill them, which is definitely in the final test. Like, that was what he was supposed to do.
Yeah,
like,
no, that was kind of like the big deal, was if you finish the top of the class, you get to kill the dragon at the end.
Back to my point about like, well, if you can keep these dragons captive, then like, why do you gotta kill them? Are they eating the dragons?
No.
So are they even? I mean, I don't know. Like that would be smart.
I think they're just keeping them for training purposes, I guess, or learning. I mean, they don't seem to be very.
It's just interesting
Yeah,
that, you know, some
I
of
think
them.
they're just keeping them for training, is what it seems
Well,
like to me, for this dragon school for the 6 kids that are on the island.
sure. I just mean to say, if we're talking about flag moments where the villager should have been like, maybe we shouldn't be killing these dragons at a genocidical level. If we can capture them and this kid can subdue them, do they really have to die? But they're bloodthirsty Vikings, so of course
They're
they have to die.
bloodthirsty Vikings. And yeah, they're eating all their livestock, these dragons.
And there is that issue, right? So, just moving forward, Astrid starts to catch on. That, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is weird. He's always rushing off to do his own thing. She's kind of the one that is starting to flag things as being unusual. Like, something's not adding up. She sees Hiccup wandering through the forest one day. It piques her curiosity. Hiccup comes down to that little valley area to check in with Toothless. I think he realizes like the jig is up and he's like, oh, we got to get out of here because his father.
Well, no, he was told he had to kill a dragon.
Right.
And he was like, I'm running away. I can't do this.
And is this right after the scene where the dad was like, oh, finally, I was so afraid you were never going to be a Viking, but now I know you're a Viking.
Yes, his dad is finally, I guess, proud of him for the wrong reasons.
So that scene was actually broken down really nicely in the documentary. And it was cool to see Gerard Butler specifically doing the lines. Like something they focused on specifically was, you know, 2 things. One, now we get to understand the father's point of view on Hiccup. In this like whole thing of like, oh, I was always afraid you were holding out on me and then I wasn't so sure. And it's like, wow, so this is how Stoic has thought of his son up until this moment, essentially.
Yeah, no, he had a really, it's kind of, that relationship is kind of sad because it's, well, it evolves at the end. You kind of see that it is one thing about the relationship I wish they fleshed out a little bit more in the beginning, is because at the end you see that like really Stoic was just trying to protect his son from the dragons. He didn't want him to fight. Like he wanted him to be safe. But it
because
did
they've
seem
lost
like
the mother.
Because they lost,
or have they?
So he was just trying to protect his family, but it does very much only read up until then as he thinks his son is scrawny and weak.
Right. There's a line he says, Odin, it was rough. And the filmmakers were saying, like, I don't even, like, we're kind of making they say gods, you know, they're doing like these little in universe, like in lore. Yeah,
they're
Viking.
Figuring out, tweaking dialogue. Yeah.
And it was Gerard Butler. They were like, you don't have to say that line. You know, we're not even sure how that plays. And Gerard Butler put his hands up like he was talking to Odin. Odin, it was rough, but we managed.
Right.
And it was a moment of an actor performing something so perfectly. They just like frame for frame recreated what Gerard Butler did in the recording into the animated film. I love to see shit like that.
But yeah, this is also, I mean, again, this moment is, you know, perfect. Just like a tried and true storytelling beat that you go through with any screenplay where your hero Hiccup, we've established that they want something. They want to kill a dragon and fit in with the Vikings right at the beginning. And then we get to a place where there's a new situation, new information is gathered. They adapt to that, and then they get what they want, but it turns out that's not actually what they want. Getting their want gets them into trouble. And that's what, you know, leads us into our main action here. So he thinks he gets what he wants. He's top of his class. He has the respect of his father, but he's made friends with this dragons and like literally said, we were completely wrong about you guys. Doesn't want to kill this dragon. So he has to flee, but gets caught by Astrid, his classmate, love interest. He convinces her. She's like ready to kill Toothless at the site, but like gets her on the dragon, takes her for a ride that kind of goes wrong, but then she sees they have this connection. And this is where we get kind of the like interesting second act turn where
and before we like cross that bridge, the shot we're getting into this, but like all of the things in the clouds, absolutely stunning.
Oh my
beautiful,
God.
harkens to a whole new world level of
yeah.
just animators like putting it all on the screen.
Unbelievable
going
sequence.
So gorgeous.
That flight, again, because you do get close-ups of the human faces, and you're like, I don't know about this. And then you see and then they back out and you see the larger image, and you're like, no, this is pretty incredible.
Yes.
2022, the advancements in technology have just ruined my ability to enjoy stuff until they like zoom out of this movie, and I'm like, no, this is a beautiful image they've created.
Well, the shot that I thought was absolutely stunning, like the shot of the film is Toothless flying into that thick fog, and then slowly you start to see the other dragons appear as Toothless flies closer and closer into this herd of dragons. I mean, that is sick. Like, that is fucking
incredible.
Gorgeous.
I mean, also when they like shoot up through the clouds when they're doing a little bit of a joyride, and it's like that pink like above the cloud line.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful. And again, the action, the movement in it is so compelling that sometimes when I find myself in scenes like that, you can check out depending on how good the action is. It's very easy to start glazing over in those moments if it's not well done. I think especially in animation where it doesn't feel like the stakes are that high. But this one,
it's so beautiful. It commands your attention.
It's so beautiful, and like it's so, again, the action itself, the movement, the camera movement, the way the dragon is flying is all so compelling that it feels like a ride.
Yes.
And
there were multiple times where I was like, wow, the video game like tie-in, the book tie-in, the ride tie-in, like it's all there. It's so easy to put
it reminded
together.
me of when Harry was flying the broom for the first time in Harry Potter. Like you feel that. You're like, I want to do that. That looks fun. I'm in this.
So all the dragons are flying to this dragon nest that the Vikings have been looking for forever. And then this is where we get a little twist, because the dragons are actually taking all the livestock to feed this like ultra mega dragon.
Yeah. Turns out the dragons are a little community unto themselves, and they're being terrorized by a bigger monster. So we see the dragons aren't these, again, the dragons are smarter than we think. They do have a community onto themselves. They have built a society. They're just being run by
brutally hunted
and like trying to appease this bigger dragon that if they don't feed, will feed on them, the smaller dragons. So they're really not, these bad, evil pests that can't be stopped from ruining this Viking village. They're collective, who is also having a struggle against a brutal dictator dragon.
Do you think these dragons are kind of like wolves and how we domesticated dogs, where once the wolves learned that like, hey, the human beings will give us food if we
help them,
team up with them, it's like we're both kind of meeting the same end.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it is. I don't know.
They're cute.
And they're so cute. This movie, it is about fathers and sons, but it really is about pets. It is a movie. If you haven't watched it again, I highly recommend.
Oh, you gotta.
Watching it again. And if you have a little buddy, have them next to you. Make sure they're watching with you, because it will really make you want to cuddle them. It's about teamwork. It's about these guys working together and learning to be friends and love each other. Domesticating dragons. I mean, they also let them be free. They let them do their own thing. But it's learning to work together and love each other, except for the mean evil one.
So fast forwarding a little bit plot wise, Toothless and Astrid and Hiccup reconvene. Astrid is like, we need to tell people about this nest. Hiccup says we can't because they'll try to kill Toothless, which is correct. The next day is like the dragon killing finals.
Dragon, his final exam that the whole town watches.
Hiccup is successful in subduing a dragon. He really can't bring himself to kill the dragon. The dragon starts to fight back. Toothless develops like a Hiccup sense and comes to the rescue, of course, but everybody sees it's a night fury. They try to kill him. finally Hiccup's whole
Oh, that
shit
scene
falls apart.
Yeah, that scene when Toothless gets his like weird hiccup sense, his spidey sense, and tries to get out of the valley, like pawing his way out of that real little rock wall. Oh, my heart really wrenched in that moment.
Yeah, and then he was trying to help, but then they captured him.
They got him. They got him, but then
they capture him, and then Stoic and Hiccup have a scene together where Stoic is like, "You motherfucker! I should have known that there was something going on." And Hiccup was trying to explain, like, "No, you don't understand. These are misunderstood animals. We could talk to them." And that's where he lets slip. They're not even trying to hurt us. They have to do this because they're protecting themselves from a bigger dragon. And then Stoic is like, "Wait, come again." And Hiccup basically accidentally tells his dad, Toothless knows where the big dragon den is. So Stoic is like, "Okay, great. You stay right the fuck here. I'm taking your little kitty, and we are going to find this big dragon's nest," which brings us to the third act. They have so brutally chained Toothless to a ship, and they have set sail to find the dragon nest, which Hiccup is like, "I cannot stress enough. That is not a good idea."
Not a good idea.
Hiccup is like, "We have to do something." He rounds up Astrid and the rest of his schoolmates, and then they all, in a matter of minutes, get these captive dragons into fighting shape where they can fly, ride these dragons. Meanwhile, the rest of the Vikings, they're at the nest. They break down the walls. All the dragons take off. At first, it seems like a victory because it's like, oh, great, we got them. But Stoic knows better. And now we enter this big battle sequence with this huge dragon. We get the funny-looking dragons in the mix. There's a big battle. Toothless is freed by Hiccup. I did cry a little bit when Toothless was at the bottom of the ocean. I'm not proud to admit that I did cry.
But yeah, it's so sad. He died.
I'm on a considerable amount of Tylenol, so I'm vulnerable. Hiccup tries to save him, can't do it, and that's when Stoic jumps in. That's when it got me. When Stoic.
When Stoic saves his son. And that's when you really see, then that's really where the heart of the film shines through. That,
and
like,
this
he
was
just wanted to protect his family, and he would do anything to protect his family.
And this was a talking point in the documentary that they said, we need Stoic to have a heroic moment. It's not enough that Stoic and Hiccup see eye to eye at the end of the movie. We need a moment where Stoic gets to be the good guy because he's kind of been an antagonist the entire film. And this is his opportunity to do that. And it pays off very well. It's a beautiful moment. I kind of don't even want to talk about this beat for beat because it's just such an incredible sequence of events.
It really is. It's such a good moment. It ties the film together so well. Everything I was saying about, like, earlier about not really seeing the humanity in Stoic does a 180 kind of in this moment. I wish you got a little more sense of, like, Stoic wanting to protect him in the beginning of the movie, but I think it comes out so nicely in this moment. And that, Hiccup did save the day. Like, he sees that Hiccup was right and has a point, and he respects his son on that level, which is what Hiccup wanted. But also as the audience, you get the understanding that he's just worried about his boy.
Yeah, and
his
also,
boy who's like, who he can tell is, like, sensitive and not a 7'2" giant killer.
Well, also very precious to him because the mom is assumed to be dead at this point in the trilogy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Also, technically speaking, Hiccup does kill a dragon in this film, and the biggest motherfucking dragon there is you could ever think of.
He kills the bad dragon. But he saves the good, misunderstood dragons because he's just a misunderstood dragon himself.
Yes. Hiccup is like a cat person in a dog person world.
Really is. I also do... and then we get back, but Hiccup is brutally injured in this fight.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this because this was a big talking point in the documentary, and it's just it's incredible. So, there was talk about Toothless dying at the end of this film. And mainly that conversation was about this film needs to have real stakes
Yeah.
and there should be real consequences to these real actions. But they thought, dude, we can't kill Toothless. Like, that's kind of brutal.
No, I
so
would
then,
boycott.
No, oh my God, it'd be awful.
Riots in the streets.
So that's when the idea that Hiccup is brutally injured entered the frame. So at first, the original idea is that Hiccup loses a foot. They figured like that would be kind of an innocuous limb to lose, and there's already an establishment of like the Craig Ferguson Viking is missing 2 limbs.
Also,
and originally
it pairs well. What I love about that choice is it parallels Toothless missing tail.
Yes, they're both missing an appendage.
Yeah.
So originally it was going to be played as a joke that he would wake up from this coma. He had this missing foot. He'd be like, oh, sweet. Like, this is cool. Vikings, brutal. But then they decided to take maybe the riskier choice, which is, well, why don't we play this moment sincerely? Like, he's sad. He's lost a foot. There's like a real moment of sincerity and something that really can resonate of like, wow, these are the real stakes of this world, this brutal universe. It was a Spielberg suggestion, actually, that when Hiccup wakes up, Toothless is in the room next to him. So and he described it as like, you know, Hiccup helps Toothless recover from his injury at the beginning of the film. And now here's Toothless to help Hiccup. So he's like an emotional support animal.
It's the sweetest. I mean, in a movie full of sweet moments, it is maybe the sweetest where he wakes up and it's just those two are just happy to see each other. He's a little shocked that Toothless is in his room, but he's happy to see his buddy, and Toothless is just as happy to see him. And then the reveal comes, and Toothless, wordless expression. The way Toothless, expresses himself without any words is so sweet and so beautiful, but is very much like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to find out. I'm like, it's just so sad and sweet and sympathetic.
And in this documentary, they actually have the footage of the first official test screening of the film, and specifically, there's a man, they're doing like feedback, what stood out to you, whatever, and there's a man that says, I really like that Hiccup loses a foot, like, that was actually a really beautiful moment.
Yeah.
That was, and they were like, well, raise your hands if you feel that way. And it was just overwhelmingly like, everybody loves that.
I think it's good. It's real stakes, and it's like in this world, people lose limbs. We see it with Gobber.
And on a representation note, isn't it so nice to see a disability treated with such sincerity and love?
Yeah, exactly.
And like a normality of like, hey, this thing happens.
He immediately gets up. All his friends were like, what's up? And they go and do and fly. Like it was, I thought that was such a sweet moment. Toothless coming there and helping him try to like figure out how to walk. It really such like a sweet, it's a heartbreaking moment. A kid lost a limb. But it's just treated with such care and such tenderness that and like he'll be okay because of the care and love he's shown to everybody.
And when you remember that originally that was pitched as like a gag, that would not have it wouldn't have landed. Something that is really admirable about this film across the board is that writing wise, they always seem to take the more complex choice.
Yeah, the emotionally more interesting choice.
Yes, the dynamic choice.
Yeah, and I think that's why this story is told so well and dynamically. Is like all the emotional beats feel very true. It's so well done. My question is, how long was Hiccup out for? Or did they just immediately go from like, we hate dragons to we've learned to live with them, everyone has a dragon now?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that big battle at the end where Toothless is given everything he's got. And I think like with the kids already flying the dragons, like
Yeah.
that probably
I
did a
yeah.
lot for human dragon relations. Oh, I
I
also
love that society is just willing to change like that. We didn't have to do a whole thing. We just like immediately we're friends
exactly.
now. I
Well,
like
I
that.
also I skipped this part, but I liked when Hiccup told Stoic says those dragons kill hundreds of us, and Hiccup goes, and we've killed thousands of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say that. So true.
Yeah. The people in the back.
Yeah, no, but the filmmakers did refer to that as a coma. So I think like I don't know, they gave him some kind of like Viking witch stuff or whatever.
Like it doesn't feel like they're very political people, the Vikings. But knowing what we know about Vikings, I feel like it would have taken a while, but they seem to be like right on pace with like great society. We're doing a 180 with these dragon guys. They're our friends now, which is great. I think that's how things should work.
Yes, immediate acceptance.
Yes, we did this. We're flying around. Everyone gets a dragon pal now. I want a dragon pal.
Well, I think when you tell people like, hey, if you're cool with the dragons, they might let you like fly on their back. Like, yeah, say
hell
less.
yeah.
This is my best friend.
Yeah. I'll give them whatever they can eat, half my fish.
And I like it that at the end of the movie, the narration, that Hiccup, he calls the dragons their pets.
Yeah. And instead of
he says we've got pets.
They change the S and the T, and that makes all the difference. From pest to pets. Very
Isn't
clever.
that every pet?
And I like the big goblet of fish they have in the center of town. I like the society where dragons get some fish, humans get to get some fish too. There's enough fish in the sea for everyone to eat.
But not eel. Not eel.
Definitely not eel. Definitely not eel.
Which is fair.
I like
Smoked eel?
Smoked eel, no. I like eel in sushi, but I don't think that. Well, I guess the way Toothless is eating it, it is sushi.
Yeah.
But, not for everybody. I get that. I do want to hear, because I just want to talk about the comedy in this movie, and then I do want to hear your top cutest moments.
I laughed out loud a few times watching this film.
Yeah. The way, there's one moment, I forget exactly what I think, there's some where, like, I think it's when Astrid and Hiccup are talking in the valley after she's seen Toothless, and Toothless runs to go get something in the background or something, and he stands up on 2 feet and like hobbles. The way he walks when he is on 2 feet,
I love it. I love it so much. His little hands in the front.
Funny. With his little hands in the front, and he's just like waddling around,
kind of wobbling.
Very cute. And also, so that like iconic nose pet scene. Fun fact on IMDb, apparently that pause was actually a lag in the animation. But it works so well, they kept it in.
It works really well, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, actually, that's such a nice image and like works so well, the hesitation.
That is so great. And there are, I mean, maybe this is it's both the Deacon's influence and it's also just truly the brilliance of these filmmakers. Like, there are many images in this film that I could have taken a screenshot and easily like it tells the whole story of what the scene is about.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful
God, I love animation.
I do too.
I really love animation.
I love little Toothless. My top, he's got a couple of cutie moments for me that I want to call out.
Yeah, let's talk about just as we wrap up, what are some cute moments?
Cute moments. One of my favorites is when he gives him the fish and he smiles at him. When he tries to figure out a human smile. Yes. And he does that weird little like grumble. Love it.
I mentioned this earlier, but I like when he's rolling around in the grass.
Oh, so cute.
Very kitty-like.
Very kitty-like. Yeah. Apparently it was based off like dog, horse, cat combo. He has like all 3 traits. I think with like the nose pet, horse, You know
what it is? Really? It's the eyes and the pupils dilating and then going
such
slim
for
eyes. When.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I just love when a cat has those big old eyes.
Yeah, the big eyes of a cat, but then like will play like a dog. Like does the like butt wiggle and fetch like a dog.
Yes.
Which I love. I love when they're like when after they do that like beautiful, I think it's like his first joyride on Toothless, and then they land on that island for sunset and all the little dragons come up and also snuggle.
Yes.
Adorable moment.
Ah, what a cute film.
Yeah.
And not just a cute film, also genuinely a beautiful film.
Really, yeah, just like all around well done. Yeah, great storytelling.
And actually, is it crazy
Beautiful,
to me to say that
yeah.
like this film and this trilogy, I think is actually like highly underrated.
I do too. I think because I don't know why that is. I think it's well respected.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't think it had like the press machine. I mean, it's DreamWorks. That's a pretty massive company, but I don't think it has like the machine of a Disney behind it where you're going to get like overrun with toys, which I
Well,
think is for the best.
Yeah, it had the TV series. I mean, it definitely like is very it's a large
spun its
franchise.
wheels, but like it didn't dragons didn't become like minions where you couldn't escape them.
Yeah, but which is interesting because this is like peak, beginning of the peak of Game of Thrones era.
Yeah, I think it's for the best because I do think it lives in this world of like, these are really respected, well done films, but they're not something that anyone got sick of. Or like felt overly marketed to. So I honestly, in my humble opinion, I think it's for the best. I don't know if that like
very yeah, no, it's
it probably
tasteful.
doesn't translate monetarily that way, but
it's tasteful, it's restrained, and I just think it is like I've just yet to hear anybody be like, oh yeah, I didn't like those movies. Like I saw the second one because my roommate had it on, and I was like, you're watching this, and she was like, these are actually very good films, and I was like, oh okay.
Yeah, it's funny. When I told my boyfriend that we were doing this, he was like, you're doing How to Train Your Dragon? I'm like, yeah. He was like, he had that reaction that you just explained. That was like, what? Oh, yeah, but they are good.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited to watch the second one again.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this as a trilogy, as like a full story too.
And I will say a little preview. So I didn't watch the third one, but I do remember when it came out, everyone was like, why did they make Hiccup like absolutely hot? Like, why did they do that to that cute little boy in this movie? That like his glow up is notable.
I am excited to see that. I guess
he's a John Krasinski motherfucker, right? Like John Krasinski must have been like we're trying to get yeah,
and he has that
he was the blueprint for like that kind of cute.
I mean, it's
guy
2011. That is a 2011 boy haircut.
Totally
/ non-haircut.
Yeah.
And we were, nerds who were big then. Oh yeah, I am looking at the poster. Even 2. Yeah, he gets like a very square jaw.
I just remember, especially when the third one came out, the internet reaction was like, I want to fuck Hiccup. Is that horrible to say? Not in this one though. My God, no.
No, he's a boy in this one. But
alrighty.
Good movies. We'll watch more of them and we'll talk about them on this very podcast.
Shout out to Small Beans.
Yep.
And our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. We've got a lot of wonderful shows on the network. I was actually listening to Bewilderments and Scientifics not too long ago. And by not too long ago, I mean yesterday. I don't know why I had to put it in such a historical way. But a lot of great shows. Check them out. Make sure to leave us a review and a rating on iTunes and other podcatchers if you're enjoying the content. We love a shout out. You can always follow us on Twitter. I am at SK_Griffith.
And I am at Bridgett Tweets.
That's 3 T's in the middle of that.
Right in the row.
Yeah, stay tuned as we enjoy more cute little kitty cat Toothless with How to Train Your Dragon 2 and 3 on deck. Thanks so much.
Goodbye.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!